Today we want to go over writing strategies. When we think about this, we're either thinking about how to improve our own writing or how to teach others to improve their writing, perhaps even those who are students trying to master the English language. English is not their first language, and they want to learn not only how to speak the language and read it, but also how to write in it. And so these strategies will help our own writing, will help us in teaching others to write if English is our native language, or even assist those whose first language is not English. So writing strategies, how can we improve our writing? Well, one of the things we can do first is to practice our penmanship. And I know this seems odd in this day and age of the ubiquitous computer where everyone's texting and typing. Hardly anyone writes anything anymore. It's actually a dying art. But in some ways you can learn a great deal through the actual mechanical process of holding a pen and forming the letters yourself. So there actually is value in the slower, perhaps less efficient form of writing things out longhand. And having legible penmanship can be a benefit. I know it seems a bit anachronistic, but I'm kind of hoping it doesn't die out. So that's one writing strategy, is actually practice writing things out longhand and practice your penmanship. So that's one strategy. Now the second one is probably the main focus for this video. Practice the various parts of the writing process. Basically, you can take almost anything, break it down into its constituent parts, and in some instances practices those individual components by themselves. Basketball. If you want to learn how to play basketball, there's a lot of different skills you have to master, and you can actually take time and practice those individual skills before you put them together and actually play the game. So you can practice dribbling, you can practice shooting free throws, you can practice dribbling on the run or standing still. You can practice the running and build up your endurance. You can practice passing. All the various things that go into being a good basketball player can be broken down into individual components and practiced and then put together. The same goes for writing. You can break it down into its each process into its constituent parts and to practice just that part until you get better at it. So we can head these things under the writing process under organization, maintaining focus, and revision. So organization has to do with the writing process and where it begins, getting started. Maintaining focus is sort of the mid area, and then revision is the final. If we can use chess as an analogy, this is the opening, this is the mid game, this is the end game. So organization is where we start, maintaining focus is the meat of the sandwich, and revision would be the other piece of bread if we're using a sandwich analogy instead of a chess analogy. But I'm hoping you get the idea that you can actually break it down into those three categories and say, okay, I'm going to practice just how to organize and getting started in writing. I'm just going to practice that middle part of rough draft and things like that. Or I'm going to work on revising things and get better at that. So I've broken it down still further from these three categories into other things that you can practice. So beginning under organization, you can brainstorm ideas. Sit down and spend some time saying, what would I like to write about? What would be a good idea for a story or for a poem? Or it all depends on what kind of writing you're going to do. If you're going to do technical writing, that's one type of writing. If you're going to do fiction writing, that's another type. If you're going to write poetry, that's a different type. So brainstorming ideas appropriate to the type of writing you want to do. That would be under organization. And then getting a basic outline. Once you've got a whole bunch of ideas out there, you pick one and you say, okay, let's outline what this would look like as near as I can tell from beginning to end. And so you're just really getting the big structures in. You can practice the rough draft, which is getting things down as quick as possible. You're not trying to look for polish, you're not looking for the best word, you just want to get the story out there. Then you can practice editing and reviewing. So I need to go back and check things for grammar and spelling and punctuation and pick the best word and get out my thesaurus and things like this to edit and review. And on this level too, not only do you do your own edits and reviews, but you can actually help other people practice that by taking your material, your rough draft, and handing it to a peer and saying, I want you to edit this and review it. And so you get that process going as well. So peer edit and review yourself or others. The polishing process, where you go back in with a fine-tooth comb and really make it as good as you possibly can, removing all superfluous material, things like that. And then presentation, you can actually practice presenting your material in a spoken form, getting other people to read it and getting feedback from them, things like that. One of the other things you can practice is research. After brainstorming and outlining, sometimes you need to go back and get concrete information. And in this digital age, this involves learning how to use the internet and learning the pitfalls of that it can be a wonderful source of information and a wonderful source of misinformation. You need to be able to sift through what's a reliable internet source and what is not a reliable internet source, and working through those things for proper research, as well as using a library and things like this. So research is important for the writing process. Explore different types of writing. This is great. Instead of just saying there's only one type of writing, there's actually lots of different types, and I've just listed a few here. Narrative, descriptive, persuasive, and poetry, and on that goes. There's lots of different forms of writing. Pick one and explore that genre of writing. Get practice in it. It teaches you more not only about that style of writing, but about your own language, or helps you teach others about the English language if that's the language you're writing in. And then finally, practice writing for a particular audience. There is formal writing and informal writing, or you have a formal presentation to a formal audience, and there's informal presentations to an informal audience. It's different to present something on a valedictory speech versus going to the local coffee shop on Friday night and doing some free-form poetry or something. Basically, these are different audiences, different types of writing, and you can practice those things. Writing for different cultures. Research comes in there. For different age groups. Writing for children's different than writing for adults, and things like this. So if you break it down into its constituent parts, pick a particular portion of a particular audience, particular writing style, the process itself broken down, you can practice each one of those by themselves and actually see progress being made for yourself, or teach it to someone else and see them make progress as well. So these are just a few different strategies for improving your own writing or improving the writing of others, or once again, if you're educating those whose language, primary language is not English, you can assist them by breaking it down into these bite-sized chunks for them and walking them through that process instead of just saying, here's a sheet of paper, give me 3 paragraphs about something. So break it down into constituent parts makes it easier. You get bite-sized pieces, and improvement can be noticed much more quickly by doing it that way. All right, well, this has just been a short video then on writing strategies. If you'd like to learn more about this or related matters, if you'll look underneath this video, there's a link down there. Click on that link. It'll take you to the website that has that information. And while you're on that website, you'll also find a link to an ebook that's ready for immediate download.